Fit like Abdi, Danny Boy here, and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2 on the UK map. We've got another steam train, the Thank You NHS rail tour. It's the Class 7, the Britannia. It is a lovely looking train, 7,000 there, and we're also doing it at sunset, so the skybox is got that nice sort of golden glow about it, and the shadows are a bit more prominent. I've put some southern rail wagons, or coaches, southern coaches, onto it. We're going to be heading down south. We're at London just now. This is the Eurostar station on this map. It's not the Eurostar station in real life because that's St Pancras, and it should be over there somewhere, over that side of the river. But it's good to go on its little south coast journey, and the first stop will actually be Exeter. I actually pushed the button for stopping recording there instead of pressing the button to for play. I meant to push tab, and I pushed my bound key for starting recording and ending recording. But we're heading out of the station here. Lovely train. We shall get a view of the outside world imminently. And this first area is really nice. We'll go up a bit. The train will come into view in just a moment. London is at the other side. Sorry, to the north, really. There is a Southwestern train that is just departing in front of us. There we go, we can see a plane in the background. I maybe should come out of this view because we're going to just be probably clipping into the mountainside there, the hillside. But it's a lovely train. We've got the brake car at the back, as always. And we are pretty much good to go on our little journey. So the map really does look very nice. In fact, I would probably prefer playing it on sunset than sort of any other game mode. Now we're going to be heading into the tunnel, but we'll stay out of the tunnel. We'll get a nice view of everything. There we go, there's an A380 on a wild approach to Heathrow, as they so often do in game, not in real life. That's a bit of a but looks like he's made it. There doesn't seem to be anything in his way, so we should be good. This train should pop out of the tunnel imminently. There we go, and then we're into the trees. Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice view, this. I do like it. This train is decently fast as well. I think 90 or 89 or 90 miles per hour is the top speed of this train. Looks like we've got another Southwestern train heading into the station there, which should be a nice journey down to Exeter. And if this train gets up to speed, it should be a short journey down to Exeter. Now there was, before recording this episode, a brief moment of panic. The industry diversity mod that adds a lot of extra and new industries was gone. It was removed from the Steam workshop, and it's a mod I used heavily. There are ways to load save games when mods are removed, particularly if it's one you are using. If it's one you have installed but you've not actually used it, there's no active models of that mod on your map. You're loading your save game should be fine. But it was just a case of I'd sort of backed up the mod and then fired it back in. I have since removed everything, all the factories and industries that required that mod to run, and removed them just to sort of be on the safe side. It didn't actually affect many things. There's still the industry expanded mod, which adds things like fish farms, oil sand mines. It gives you the steel mills that also produce slag. So that is all still there. The industry diversity one added the cool commercial buildings like the hotels, the bar, the cafe, the tool workshop, the butcher. It also had cheese and milk production from livestock farms, but that's kind of all gone. Now there still is livestock farms because the meat production chain is on the Industries Expanded mod, so they are still there. It's just unfortunate that everything else is gone. I think the Industry Expanded mod basically has industries that were available in Transport Fever 1 and the sort of configuration that they were in. Like a steel mill also produces slag, whereas Transport Fever 2 steel mill does not produce slag. So that's kind of a bummer. There's also the plastic industry mod, which in Transport Fever 1 could be made with oil or grain. This one is still the same, it's oil or grain. Transport Fever 2, I believe it was just oil was what you needed for that. But here we go, our train is bypassing Reading, which is nice, because Reading was a hell of a spot. Reading's actually back there. We come onto this line over here, and then we should head across. Now there shouldn't be much of anything on this line, because this is basically sort of bypass, but we'll go into the footplate. This is it's got again the 2D image of the valves, etc., which is really cool. We can actually, again, the window at the front doesn't work, so you can sort of see out. That's like a sort of cool effect that the windows are all sort of dirty from the inside, from the coal soot and stuff. But yeah, we'll head out this way. Should be a nice little journey. No trains on the left. There possibly might be trains on the right, but they would be way over there. Plenty of aircraft in the sky, which is nice. We shall head over this side. We'll be joining on to the the Great Western Railway's route, the London to Penzance route. We're not actually on that track yet, but we will be going onto the track sort of just shortly. Let's have a look at the consist from behind. That's nice. Yeah, the sunset mod just looks epic. It is really nice. Again, it brings me back to the point, why is there no way to change the skybox in the standard game? That would be really nice. I did notice on the Transport Fever community page on Facebook that someone had put a poll up saying that the sort of updates and changes they are doing, is it what people sort of wanted or expected? And I think it was about, I think it was more than double. I think there was a certain amount said yes, but double the amount of people said no. These were not sort of things that they... Obviously they're improving game performance all the time, continuously. And they're now doing things to make AI, like cars and people in cities, they're sort of streamlining that to sort of give sort of more prolonged life in a game, because obviously cities expand rapidly, and every single person, every single citizen on the map is accounted for at every given time, and the game has to sort of work out the sort of AI's pathing, what they want to do, where they want to go, and they're sort of streamlining that, so that should make performance further down the line better. I didn't really see much about what else they were sort of adding, but the result on the poll is mostly that no, the changes that were coming were not what people sort of wanted or expected. So that's a real shame, but yeah, there is a lot of things that people would probably like to put in the game that will never be implemented. Like, the scheduling has now been added, but it's a mod. And it's a really good mod. It works really well. I've tested it quite a bit. It works perfectly. That maybe should have been something that was in the game. People want to, when replacing vehicles, not to have them just magically replaced, to have them go to a depot. I know that's one that people often liked. They weren't really a fan of the auto replace sort of feature. I know some people are a fan of the auto replace feature because it removes a certain amount of micromanagement, especially if you have a map with literally thousands of vehicles, especially road vehicles. Because going to replace or change out 1,000 different road vehicles would take a long time and be extremely tedious. I know, because I have done it previously. I've often been offline before recordings and gone through waves of finding vehicles that are old and then replacing them. Once you sort of get to the 90s, 1990s, it's fine, because you get trucks, semi-trucks, etc., like vans and things, all that, buses. And apart from their changes in liveries, the models sort of stay the same because they're still run currently today. Not many new things come out. So the replacing things sort of becomes redundant. If you have full maintenance costs being added to a vehicle, then it will stay nice and clean and be totally fine for the duration of its life. It will no longer need replaced. But in older games, when you've got like sort of older trucks, a new truck sort of becomes available, higher capacity, higher speed, then you probably will want to replace it at some point. We're going over a bridge here. I think we could get a nice shot of our Britannia going over the bridge. Yeah, so there's a few things that people would like to see in game that probably won't. And I think now it's kind of, because of modding and what most people want have sort of been modded into the game, that people sort of, there's no point in sort of urban games sort of adding it to the main game. Lest, like the industry diversity mod, the mod becomes removed, which is annoying because it's a modder's decision to remove a mod from workshop. Yes, it does kill save games sometimes if you've not sort of backed up the mod, etc. For those people who are not really into messing with sort of Lua files and stuff like that, then it can be catastrophic. And people put a lot of time and effort into their save games. Even if they don't put it on YouTube, it gives them great personal satisfaction building out high detailed sort of areas and doing their own little playthroughs. And it's a real shame that that stuff just gets completely wiped from existence. Whereas if Urban Games implemented a system that was a mod, you would then know that that would never be removed. That will always be there, because a game developer won't want to take a huge amount of flack for personally defuncting a lot of people's save games. Because you often see online, there was one recently where there was it Returnal? Is that, I can't remember if it's called Returnal, but the one where you play as the spaceship lady and you've crashed on a planet and then you have to keep playing until you die and then you basically come back to life at the very beginning again. There was a problem with those save games. There weren't enough saves. People's saves were being wiped due to a bug, and they instantly tried super hard to address those issues. That would be the same if they don't want people to lose their save games. People will get very tired of playing a game if the developer has not fixed an issue like that, or removes parts of the game that are going to defunct save games that they've probably spent many hours on. And not everyone, oh this is nice, not everyone has the time, because a lot of people work normal sort of 9 to 5 jobs, to sort of play games all day. And they maybe just have a couple of hours at night, and they might have other family commitments, other activities they might have to do at night as well. So it's a shame for their sort of hard work to be lost. So if Urban Games implemented things that were mods into the standard game, so be it. That would be nice. You would then have the security of knowing, right, this mod is no longer a mod, it's actually an in-game function, and it's likely going to stay there. But yeah, I don't know what else they could add. I always wanted more industries, but we had the industry diversity mod. The industries expanded, which added more freight types, which was great. There's I think it's the FX UK, also he did a one for cities where you could have a city want 6 goods, or you could have it want 2 at the start with, and then as time goes on it would expands, it would make like 4 different types of goods, then 6, and then you had ones that were sort of like date appropriate, like beginning cities back in the 1850s might require food and building materials because fuel wasn't really a thing, or fuel would have been a thing but it would have been coal, wood burning or coal burning. So, and as the sort of date went on, the game then wanted more advanced things, tools for etc., goods, fuel. So that's kind of neat. So that is a mod, and it's very unlikely that Urban Games would add something like that. They're not going to add day-night cycle, they're not going to add weather. There's no point doing sort of DLC expansions with new trains or anything, because they're modded, they're there. In Train Fever you had like the Nordic DLC, I think the American trains were also a DLC, but now they have them. They're either in the game or modders have created the models that they would maybe add to that DLC, so that things like that aren't going to be implemented. Obviously I am one of those, I would like to see more things added, but anything that improves game performance, late game performance, etc. is actually a genuine win in my book. Because as someone that likes to add a lot of stuff, maybe if you're a high detailer as well, you could sort of add more assets. The game's life would be prolonged just that slight bit longer for you to continue building your maps out. Or in my case, the game is really suffering because cities are obviously way too big. I have way too much vehicles on the map. Obviously I have the aircraft that fly out beyond the boundaries of the map to the off-map sort of airport, and that hinders stuff greatly, because those vehicles aren't actually doing anything to benefit me. They're just sort of there for show. But if you do want lots of vehicles for show, there we go, nice first Great Western there, then that is going to add up. Even if a train is sitting idle on a made up sort of yard that you've made, that the game still has to factor that train in, especially if it's not something that's an asset that can be placed. If it is a living, breathing train that you have bought from a depot and you've scheduled some sort of route so that it goes into that yard, and then you can sort of hold the train there, just click on the actual train itself and then just hold it to stop. Even though that train is stopped there doing nothing, the game has to factor in. So if you've added a lot of them, game performance is going to go downhill sharply. So any update that prolongs the life of this game while you're playing it is a win for me. So that's good. Especially if you start from the 1850s and you play right through to 2020. Because 9 times out of 10, for most people, unless they've raided CIA headquarters and sort of stolen some... Wait, are we at Penzance? This is a Penzance. Where are you going, train? No. You turn round. You do not go to London. You go to Penzance. Push pause. Line 1. Man's line. Oh, we almost had to go to Plymouth. It was supposed to bypass Plymouth and go there. Okay. Right, the train is upset now. But that's okay. Yeah, you go to Penzance. Play. You're going right to the edge of the map, train. Your journey is not done yet. But yeah, it would come to a case where you'd have lots of things from the 1800s, early 1900s. It would get to late game, all the sort of diesels and electrics would come out, but you wouldn't be able to use them. Or you would be able to use them, but it would be in the slideshow, the freeze frame sort of stuttering that makes gameplay sort of unplayable. I've had personal gameplays that I play on my own that I don't upload to YouTube, and even if that I know it's like, right, no one, this is not going to be a video, so like the freeze frame and the stuttering and the lag doesn't really matter because it's just me that sees it, and that maybe lasts for an hour and it's like, no, this is, can't play like this is really bad. So unless you go around sort of deleting everything, wiping every city from the map, sort of replacing it as a tiny or small city, because that is one thing. If you go into an 1850s map and you just place large cities everywhere, then straight off the bat the game is gonna start to suffer straight away. And as soon as those cities start to expand, it's gonna go downhill fast. I've always said that Transport Fever is not a city building game. City expansion is just a byproduct of playing the actual game, which is transport and distribution of passengers and goods via train, boat, truck, bus, plane, whatever. That is what the main game is about. So when cities expand rapidly and then the game starts to become unplayable due to that, then it becomes really annoying. Because for me, I don't care whether a city grows or it stays the same size as when I built it. As long as I can get some nice train routes and routes for other vehicles running around the map, that is all that matters to me. Now there are assets on Steam Workshop that have like monuments, there are placeable assets, and they are great, they're really good. And I think from now on what I would do is probably use them, use the buildings, the asset buildings, rather than having actual towns. There is a way to get it. I mean, you could just delete every building in a town. The town name will still appear on the map, but all the buildings will be gone, and all the AI citizens that are assigned to those sort of buildings will disappear. Now that's obviously bad if you want a lot of people sort of walk about and go on your trains. You will need AI buildings to spawn cars and vehicles to make motorways and things look used. But there are other ways around that. There are people magnets on Workshop, etc. There's lots of things that you can actually do. So yeah, keeping cities small to start with will benefit you. Late game they will expand, the game will probably become unplayable, which is a real shame. there are ways to sort of prolong the life that genuinely includes cannibalizing cities, sort of tearing them down, maybe removing a fair amount of vehicles from the map. We shouldn't have to do that. The game should just be buttery smooth from 1850 to 2020. So this update that they're doing that is going to hopefully prolong that is a good thing in my books. And they're going in the right direction, because having a game that you can play constantly from start to finish in a nice fashion should be the goal of every game developer on the planet. Sort of making something that is good at the start but then gets really bad near the end. No, that's stupid. But yeah, so looking forward to the new update when it arrives. Has it arrived? Maybe it has. But here we go. Look at the sun setting over the sea there. Lovely. But here we are in Penzance. Forgot the name of the place there. This is lovely. I must say the sunset mod is fantastic. Now I do know that Urban Games do reach out to modders and sometimes ask them if they can implement some of the stuff that's been modded into the game. They've already done sort of base work. Urban Games sort of do a bit of refinement in it, refinement to it, and then add it. So if they could take the sunset skybox and the night skybox, but add the moon back in that disappeared, that used to be there, and then give actual city buildings lights in them, that would be awesome. But yeah, we'll leave it there. Our little journey down to Penzance is complete. I really do like the Class 7 and the Class 9 as well. They are awesome. This one I thought was particularly appropriate with the Thank You NHS Rail Tour. Lovely train this. But we'll leave it there for that episode. This will be the last of the Heritage Steam Train sort of drive-bys. The last and final episode will be the next one, and we're going to run from Penzance again up to Aberdeen on the cross-country, the longest service in the UK. Now we've done that before, but when there were no trains on the map, or the train passed through very, very little other lines that had trains on them, so it was a bit bare and a bit barren. But now that all the trains are sort of implemented, bar freight trains, there's no freight in the south. I was going to do a bunch of freight in the south, but yeah, the game is starting to become, it looks fine here, but once we start adding more stuff, it does start to get bad, and really bad in certain places on the map. It's probably running fine down here because these cities have not sort of grown. There's no industries or any other vehicles around this area. But yeah, we'll jump on that train in the next one, and that will be the last episode. Sad. Very sad. But yeah, that's going to be it for this episode. As always, if you did watch this and you would like to leave a like, comment or dislike, please feel free to do so. I do apologise if there was a steam train you would have liked to have seen and I didn't get round to doing it, but even though it looks okay here, I am getting quite a few game issues, and I am glad that I am ending the series where I am. Not due to the fact that the new system is going to be finished pretty soon, which was really just a stroke of luck, because if the new system, if I had to wait, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. But yeah, it's nice that it's ending here, just before the point where the game is starting to crap out, really. So, but yeah, I do apologise if there was a steam train that you would have liked to have seen on a specific route. But yeah, last episode will be the last one. This has been a nice one because I really enjoy the Sunset mod. But yeah, that's been it for me. I've been Danny Boy. This has been Transport Fever 2, and I will catch you later.